Okay, Barry. So, first of all, CELTIC-NEXT exists since 21 years now. It was created in 2003, but it's not isolated. It belongs to a larger organization, which is called Eureka. And Eureka is an intergovernmental association that has been created more than 35 years ago. So I hope the screen will change here. It's the world's biggest public network. Over 45 countries, even 47 countries, including Canada, Chile, Israel, Singapore, South Africa, South Korea, are members of this network. It's an international RD&I, so research, development, and innovation collaboration that enables the countries belonging to this network, Eureka, to tackle global challenges and increase competitiveness. It's a transnational network facilitating coordination of national priorities on innovation and providing access to national funding. So it's not connected with the European Commission in a way that, in fact, countries are deciding with whom they work. They do calls between themselves, and they support the clusters. You will see also we are not the only clusters within Eureka, and we are grouped into a program called ECP, Eureka Clusters Program. You will see that in further slides, but I just go rapidly to the next slide, which is explaining, okay, since 95, effectively more than 35 years ago, it has provided more than 48 billion euro joint investment between public and private. Over 7,000 projects, 35,000 organizations have been supported by the network. This is the map of the countries belonging to the network. In green, full members, and in magenta, associated countries. The European Commission is also part of the network. So in this way, you need to understand the role of the European Commission. It's a tool for international R&D and innovation. It is for projects between partners in any of 2 or more Eureka countries. And this is important to remind. Minimum 2 countries from the network must be involved in your proposal. But I will come later on again on this. So how is the landscape in Europe? You have the national projects that you see on the right, which are to develop and maintain critical mass and differentiation at the country level in the global competition. On the opposite side, on the left, you have the European Commission's innovation programs following the European strategy, which is decided by the Commission with the participation of the members of the European Commission. And then in the middle, you have this Eureka, which defines transnational programs which follow national priorities. So it's larger scale than national, but still following national priorities. Project characteristics across all programs from Eureka, and you will see that there are more programs than the clusters one. It must have a civilian purpose, no military project. International collaboration between organizations based on 2 or more Eureka countries. R&D on a new product, process or service. It must be market oriented, where participating organizations decide the focus of their research. You are in control of what you want to do. So who is Eureka for? Startup and SMEs. There are 59% participation of SMEs and startups in Eureka. Large companies for 13%, universities 15%, research organizations 11%, and over 2%. The ratios are quite similar, a little bit different still with the clusters, but we will see that as well. Benefits, you have access to new markets, you have long-term business relationships that can be built, you have a knowledge transfer, and it, of course, targets a revenue growth. Top 5 technological fields that have been seen in the last years in Eureka projects: electronics, IT and telecommunications, 28%, biological sciences and technologies, industrial manufacturing, materials and transport, energy technologies, environmental technologies. So here are programs, starting with network projects, which gives flexibility for international partners, global stars, flexibility for international partners also, but with also possibility of non-Eureka countries. Clusters, we are bottom-up. I want to recall it here, so meaning that we are addressing your ideas according to the roadmap, but we are not prescribing you what to do. But the thematic are centered, of course, on the communities we represent for each of the clusters, and you will see that later. Eurostars, innovative SMEs that aim higher. InnoWide supports research and business ventures in new markets, and then investment readiness program, which drives companies towards private investment. So, the clusters, we are industry-led communities consisting of leading companies, knowledge institutes, and end-user organizations. We have strategic technology areas, whereby we address also very much vertical markets that are using the technologies that we have in our SRIAs. And we are market-oriented, aiming to solve economic, technological, and societal challenges. Eureka is about networking, meetings with 47 countries, launch calls for projects with other countries, long-standing connections with corporates. So that's Eureka. And I will go directly now to the next presentation, which is about the Eureka Clusters program, because it's linked with the previous one. So we are driving industry-led innovation and collaboration organizations. We are clusters. This I explained already. So the ECP, despite the clusters that are constituting the ECP, the program, has been kicked off in June 2021. Before that, clusters were existing separately inside Eureka, but not fully collaborating together. And the Eureka Clusters program has been put in place in order to better, let's say, find synergies between the clusters, organize joint calls, exchange best practices, and so on. And this is working quite well between us. We are really benefiting from this exchange of information, and for some of us, we have already looked at joint calls between 2 or 3 clusters, for example, and we had, through the program itself, the occasion to run 3 joint calls, joining the forces of the 5 clusters together. So we foster, as an ECP program, so as ECP program, the public-private collaboration to generate highly innovative projects that have a strong impact for the participants and also for the countries which are supporting those projects. The structure, I will not spend too much time here. We have an organization, and we have a person who is also centralizing, let's say, the process of the central clusters function. We have organized the joint calls, as said, 2 AI calls and 1 on sustainability. We are 5 clusters with 5 R&D&I areas. So CELTIC-NEXT, which I represent as director, is the next generation ICT system and services for secure digital society. The real, let's say, motto is a little bit longer than this one, but okay. Eureka 2030, low carbon energy technologies, ITR4, software innovation and digital transition, smart advanced manufacturing and production technologies, and ECS, sustainable digital transformation in electronic components and systems. We are, as said, industry-driven, supported by public authorities of the 47 countries, covering the full value chain to create innovative solutions by helping SMEs to scale up in consortia with large industry. That's a very good way for SMEs, startups to meet with the big industry guys and vice versa. Open to global cooperation. We are bottom up, even if we are looking at certain industry, let's say, branches. We are bottom up within the branch, and also in the way we consider the application of those technologies to over verticals. And then we are close to market. Close to market means that 3 years after the end of a project, we are expecting commercialization of part of or whole of the project. So we offer opportunities to fund raising transnational R&D and I consortia, access to the best companies and knowledge institute, projects initiated by industry in line with national priorities, which is very important, global and trusted cooperation in the communities, and support of experts with an industrial viewpoint. So this is what we offer, a typical cluster project, but I will come back because we have slight differences between clusters, but globally, we see in proposals in the 5 clusters, 3 to 5 countries. The usual duration is 36 months, 3 to 14 participants, and the usual project cost is between 2 and 20 million. So this can vary from cluster to cluster, but I will come back more precisely for CELTIC-NEXT on this. Okay, so I will explain you what is CELTIC-NEXT. So CELTIC-NEXT is the world industry-driven Eureka clusters program, information and communication technologies, not-for-profit clusters. So it's a long name. All that to say that we are representing the largest industry cluster supported by public authorities in the domain of information and communications technologies. And we are involving major ICT industry players, service providers, many SMEs, research institutions, so RTOs, so-called research type organizations, and academia, and this to enable a secure, trusted, and sustainable digital society. Both three terms are very important and more important, secure, trusted, and sustainable. So we joined with the other clusters in June 2021, the program, but we exist still since 2003. And this year, we are about to organize the 21st anniversary of CELTIC-NEXT, but we will come back to that. So here are some statistics that you can find on the or KPIs that you can find on the website. They are evolving a little bit. We will update them soon because these were the ones in 2021. But globally, you can see we performed 180, even more, 90 projects in the meantime, 1.2 billion joint investment, 11,500 and more person years of effort. We have involved a community of 1,150 and more companies and institutions and academia in globally 41 countries. The 41 countries vary year to year, call to call. It depends, of course, on who is making a proposal and which public authorities are supporting the call. But globally, in total, 41 countries have been involved in CELTIC until now. And we are looking for getting more with the growth of the Eureka network itself. More than 650 patents. And here I come back to the constitution of the proposals or projects consortia. We are proud of that. We have 60% of SMEs involved in CELTIC. So 60% of the partners of projects have been SMEs until now. And this is very good because the growth of industry is mostly coming from SMEs and startups than from the larger conglomerates. So 1,500 products and services on the market, generated directly or indirectly by the projects. 1,300 prototypes and trials, lots of PhDs and MSc supported through the projects on the topics of the projects, and a lot of scientific publications. And I should put here as well standardization contributions, which is an important topic as well. So we are open to all entities willing to align their business targets and R&D targets with the national public priorities by running common RD&I projects to advance the development and uptake of advanced ICT solutions and accelerating, therefore, their own time to market. So we are a cluster under the umbrella of Eureka and the ECP. We are focused on next generation communications for digital society. You can see on the right side a picture showing those topics, but they are larger than that in the meantime. We have a flexible and agile community of over 50 private and public organizations. We have even municipalities, different departments in different states and so on. We are the organizer of regular calls. So twice a year we have a call. So now it's a spring call. After this one, there will be an autumn call. We do that every year. And then time to time, it's not really a cycle, but we try to make it looking like a cycle by targeting the start of a new flagship after the end, shortly after the end of the previous one. We run also flagship calls or projects. I will explain what it is. We are financed through public and private funding, through transnational R&D cooperation. Just about how we work and we are supported. We don't get direct funding from the public authorities. We don't get direct funding from the private sector. We exist through the contribution that you do with your projects, which is based on this CELTIC fee you will see in the contracts. And this fee is 1.5% of the project costs. And this is what is needed to support the existence of the office, running the calls, maintaining the tools, developing the further versions of the tools, providing you the space for cooperation also because we provide you with tools for these fees, and have a, let's say, continuity of operations for the cluster. So we are open to any organization willing to contribute to the industry-driven European and beyond ICT research program. So our mission and vision. So the mission is to foster our Eureka collaborative RD&I program for the ICT community, and we say Eureka program. We can't say Europe anymore or European anymore because the network of Eureka, which started in Europe, has now extended beyond the borders of Europe. Therefore, we can't say anymore just Europe or European. So we accelerate the development and uptake of advanced ICT technologies and services. We employ the new network concepts of 5G and beyond, and 6G coming now to lead, and the innovation, ownership, and implementation of 6G in Eureka countries. And because it's crucial for to consolidate the position of Eurecan, so it's a neologism, so it's not European, but Eurecan manufacturers and service providers and Eurecan countries' sovereignty. We have a strong ambition, therefore, to assist Eurecan national authorities, Eurecan industry, and Eurecan societies, and make them access to social benefits, competitive advantages, commercial returns of being at the forefront of a new digital era for the society. So therefore, we do bottom-up calls, said. We have those flagship projects on open calls, and we participate, of course, to the Eureka ECP joint calls when it is a good thing for our community. So our community. So we have a so-called core group, which is something like comparable with a board of directors in a company. This core group is made of large companies like Orange, Ericsson, Nokia, British Telecom, Netash, Thales, SES in Luxembourg, Telefonica, and Euroscom. So the office from CELTIC-NEXT on behalf of the CELTIC core group is located, hosted in Euroscom company in Heidelberg in Germany, where I'm speaking from. But this core group is there to represent the rest of the community from CELTIC, which is made of 1,150 community members across 41 countries. And all together, but mainly with the core group participations of experts from the core group, we elaborate regularly a document called Mission, Vision, and Roadmap. This roadmap is what you would call in different organizations an SRIA, a Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. This one has been written in 21 for covering 4 years, 21 to 25, and you can download it from the web. We are not isolated as well in the global ICT community. So we have agreements, for example, with ESA, because we are looking very carefully at the non-terrestrial networks and terrestrial networks convergence for ICT technologies and services based on that. So we signed a memorandum of intent with ESA in 2021, and we are working with them on a joint roadmap, some events, and also some project calls. We have also signed with the 6G IASNS Association a memorandum of understanding where we try to find how we can collaborate together, be complementary on terms of TRLs and topics, help better our community, because it's the same community, to leverage different funding schemes across TRLs and topics, collaborate on the SRIAs and knowledge exchange, try not to suffocate our community by having too many calls at the same time between the different organizations and programs, and therefore offering the innovative entities the full panel between top-down programs like the Horizon programs or FP programs, and the bottom-up places like CELTIC for their collaborative projects. So this is about the collaboration. In the SRIA, or in this roadmap, strategic roadmap, you have ICT technologies, but also fields of application that are supported. The diagram on the left side is not exhaustive. You will find more in the document. And we are, as we are bottom up, we are always interested to get new ideas, new innovations, of course. And if they are not within our roadmap, we will still look at them as long as it is about ICT or application of ICT for services in our vertical segment of industry, markets, or society. We will have a look to it and evaluate it and possibly integrate it into the roadmap, by the way, based on those first projects. So you have a chance as well if you are not directly fully inside our roadmap. In 2024, based on conversations with public authorities and the industry, we are also looking not with more focus, but let's say with high interest to those topics that are on the right side. I will come back to them in the next presentation in more details. But you see, there are quite non-topics that are running right now in the industry. So I will come back to that in the next presentation in more details, explaining a little bit of context around that also. I won't read all of this, of course. You will have the slides that will be available on the website after this event. But our DNA is the following. We are bottom up. So proposals, you are free to define your proposal, your project proposal according to your own research interests. You have to be close to the market. That means that we look at projects that can deliver real commercial outcomes. That means that we are tracking after the project end, if the project had, let's say, commercialization of parts or the whole of the project 3 years after the project end. So in the ECP itself, we are requested to check after 18 months after end of a project and after 36 months after end of a project, what has been the commercialization achieved, but also how many jobs have been created and so on based on what has been funded in the project. That's a very important KPI to return to the funding organizations, because this is showing what was the value of their investment and generating, of course, the next investment in funding from the government, the ministries, to help further projects to get funded. That's very important to consider. So the high success rate, so we have a high success rate. So we have high quality proposals that have a good chance to receive funding. So we have usually 50, 60%, depending on the call, between the proposal and the project starting being funded. The flexibility, so the project focus can be adjusted to new technological developments in the field. So we have a so-called project change request process, which enables you, when you are bootstrapping, starting the project, once you get the label and you are in the phase of getting the different national funding, we are flexible in changes that you might have to do. Depending on the feedback of the national funding schemes, you might have to add a partner, to add a country, to change a little bit the balance between RD&I and, for example, dissemination and so on. So you can change already the project there, of course, in a reasonable way, and which needs to make sense to have the same impact as earlier or more impact. So we can accept your changes if you send us a PCR, project change request, and we review this and we give our acceptance of the PCR. This process is valid all along the project. So if after starting the project being funded, you encounter any problem, like a partner disappears because he went bankrupt, it was a startup, or whoever that had troubles and is not able to continue with the project, we help there and we can accept changes, replacement of his partner, refocus of the project and so on. So this is a very great flexibility that is a lot used by projects within clusters and CELTIC. So there are benefits for you and opportunities that are listed here. I will leave it to you to read them in details. But globally, you are, if you are an SME, you are exposed to large industry in a very flexible way. It's a good way to get to know each other. You can find what you can't find at national level, so that's why you go international, but still with following the national priorities and using the national funding. It's easier to, as an SME or a startup, to enter to such a project, but to enter larger programs like Horizon, for example. It's really facilitated by the public authorities. Large companies are welcomed. They have a role of kind of coaching smaller companies. It is a good way for them to identify future collaborations or more. So it's really a good place to go, a good sandbox to develop things that have a sense and an impact in the future. So as said, it provides opportunities to collaborate globally. You see the map here. Every call has a different set of supporting countries. We try to, to make that clean. But you will have presentation in the next event, in the Brokerage Proposals Day, of countries that have a special interest to fund this call. Since it's the spring call, Sweden is funding this call. They are not funding usually the autumn call, but they are funding the spring call. So Swedish participants should focus on this call here and not wait for the autumn call. Otherwise, every of those countries has a contact point that you can find on our website. And those people are really interested in supporting industry, small companies, large companies, everyone who wants to make impactful RD&I projects. So they are really there to help you. So they will tell you what conditions for the national calls are expected and so on. And you should carefully listen to them, integrate their recommendations into your proposal at CELTIC level and at national level. So we are working with them a lot and very closely, and they are passionate about RD&I and helping the economy to develop and the growth to come. So really, you have to contact them early in the process. You will see that again in a further presentation. And I really recommend you to get in touch as fast as possible with them so that you get their directions. As said, we propose 2 calls per year. This is more or less how it works. Every information here is on the website. This diagram here under where you have the details of the process is clickable on the website, explaining you more details or redirecting you to more documents. So here, this one in the website, you can click on each of those steps. It looks like a lot of steps, but in fact, it's just to give you a complete exhaustive view, but it is easy. What are CELTIC bottom-up call projects looking like? So we look at a number of participants in the consortium or partners in the consortium from 4 to 15, typical. Type of participants, large industry players, SMEs/startups, but it's usually easier for SMEs. Startups have sometimes problems to put enough, let's say, staff available for projects, and there are really startups, so commercialization might be a little bit further on the path, but we have many startups participating, but we are, let's say, late startup, not very early days of startups. RTOs, so research type organizations, academia, public bodies, like municipalities, if it's a project around smart cities, for example. Countries, 3 to 7 recommended. So 3 and not 2. So the minimum requirement is 2. But if one of the 2 countries finally does not fund the project, you stay with one country which is not eligible anymore for keeping the level. So we recommend 3, except if both countries are clear from the beginning about the fact that you will get funded. Okay, but it's strictly more than 2 in Eureka countries if you want to have this security resiliency in terms of funding. Also, you should not exceed 70% of effort or budget in one of the 2 countries if you have only 2 countries, or any number of countries. But I will come back to that as well. Market and tech value chain. So we look at the full end-to-end technology value chain to demonstrate the full end-to-end services. The full market value chain representative partners on board to demonstrate market impact relevance. So it's good to have the end customers on board, but also the different technology and market providers. If you need integration, it's good to have an integrator and so on. So since we are looking at near to market projects, it's good to have a market involved, of course. So on terms of budget, so costs of the projects, 3 to 15 million for CELTIC for a typical bottom-up call project. It can be a little bit less, but we ask you not to go to too much less than 2 million, because the process has a certain cost, and we might not be able to manage so many small projects and provide you with the same midterm reviews and final term reviews and so on site. I will explain more about this later on as well. But inside what we do for you for a project that has been funded, we are kind of coaching you all along your time of a project with experts that are provided by the industry, with the office members who are traveling to you for different reviews, and so on. So if it's a too small project, we might not be in a position to provide you with physical attendance, for example, which can change things when you discuss on a whiteboard, for example. It's just to give you why we are pushing for a minimum of 2, yet 3, but we can accept 2 million. There are good reasons behind that. So duration of a project, minimum 24 months. We don't think that under 24 months you can really generate something impactful, except it's really at the end of just before commercialization, but then you might find difficulties to get the funding because you are too near to commercialization. And 48 months, and this is for projects which are a little bit more complex, larger, and have different technologies being developed inside, and they have to meet again in integration and demonstration together. So usually 36 months is a good duration. So this is for bottom-up call projects. Then if we speak about flagships, there have been SASER, Sendate, AINet, and there's the next 2 in preparation. They were historically larger projects that are, let's say, from size of consortium 50 to 90 participants. They have common working groups and 3 to 4 sub-projects that are each something like 10 to 20, 25 participants. Again, the same participant types, no change here. Recommended here because they are larger, it's minimum 5 countries, maximum 10 to stay manageable. Strictly more than 2 Eureka countries per sub-project. So in sub-project, you have the same qualification as for a bottom-up core project. Market and tech value chains, exactly the same requirements and KPIs. And the budget and duration, we look at the budget from 50 to 75 million joint investment. So costs being covered by the private and the public sectors together, and a duration of 36 to 48 months. That's historical data, because this is not something that we organize on a regular basis, meaning it's not every year, it's not every 2 years. It's when the previous one is finished, we try to organize the next one so that there's a continuity in time. But we are trying now to organize more of those in parallel with different topics, core topics. Some results, and also to say that our community is active. So in the bottom-up call 2023, the previous call, we had 9 valid proposals for 28.4 million budget in total, 381 full-time equivalent, 62 participants spread over 15 countries. The labeling meeting was held in January 24. 3 projects got fully labeled, 2 labeled with modifications, and 4 not labeled because they were lacking of enough criteria to be asked to really reapply or to review their project proposal and apply in a later call, for example. The 2 labeled with modifications, that's meaning that 2 proposals were considered as good, but there were some points that needed some improvement to make them fully labeled. So those 2 projects got 2 months to update their proposal, consider the modifications given by the experts from CELTIC and the public authorities, feedback, and they will be reassessed in now 1.5 months. The bottom-up call now, so we started opening the, let's say, announcement of a call in November, December. The launch event is today. The Brokerage Day is on the 13th of March. It will be online. The FPP deadline, so the full project proposal or the cluster project proposal, CELTIC project proposal, CPP, is for the 3rd of May for labeling end of June, and the project starts in September if public authorities have already funded the project. The current flagship is finishing this year. So there is a preparation that has been started for the next one. It's not really a follow-up in terms of content, but it's a follow-up in terms of timing. Interested countries should contact me, but this is not directly for you. But you can ask about this flagship project as well if you are a participant from the industry or RTO or academia. We are happy to connect you with the people organizing this call or this project. And we have another flagship which is in preparation as well, a little bit less advanced, called 3D-NET for NTN space and terrestrial networks convergence, so NTN non-terrestrial networks. We have a core team of industrials who is in the recruitment, so there are already big industry players working, and they are recruiting the colleagues, and the same applies. You can contact me and I will put you in contact with the organization team. So for the time frame of this call year, as said, project submission 3rd of May, evaluation will be May, June, because we have always 6 weeks after the closure of the call for our experts from industry and from academia and RTOs to evaluate your project proposals. They even also involve the public authorities evaluations. For some of them, they are going into those evaluations in depth. Sometimes we do after we give the label, and sometimes before. So we are meeting end of June together between public authority, the office, the core group, and we decide jointly in a consensus way which proposal gets the label and can further proceed with the process, which gets the label with modifications and what modifications are requested or which are not labeled, and we provide the feedback as well on what could be done to make it better next time. So we prepare events. We have launch days like today, proposals, brokerage days, annual events. So that was before COVID. The new first annual event will be this year with the anniversary, 21st anniversary of CELTIC. And we have a brokerage platform. I will guide you to this one as well. We have, when we have an annual event, we have also some election of best project, for example. So we will consider that again now that we can meet physically again. So let's see what we will do this year. About the flagship projects, SAS and data said big projects, 80 million, 70 million, so 60 partners, 80 partners. That's AINet, the current one. You see the vertical and the horizontal work being done. This is the kind of feedback and KPIs that we have from such a big project, but this is not the topic for today. Just to show you that this is also existing within CELTIC. We had in the proposed brokerage in 2023 3 important moments, but Audrey will come back to that in a presentation. So conclusion about CELTIC. So you can join the CELTIC-NEXT community and apply for transnational funding for your next steps of development for innovation technologies, products and services, and get a recognized international label. So the CELTIC-NEXT label is recognized. Don't be restrained to a specific limit for your innovation project. It's bottom up, it's not top down. Get a larger visibility for collaboration. because we also provide you channels to disseminate. We have our community, we have our news, we have our website, we are supporting you in those endeavors. You can gain commercialization channels by mixing large industry SMEs and RTOs in their to market innovation collaborations. You can accelerate your time to market by increasing your TRL, and you can collaborate easily outside of purely Europe with a Eureka network of countries with proven clusters mechanism, extending again your visibility in commercialization channels. So thank you. That's for CELTIC itself. Our SRIA and the topics. So this window that takes time to disappear. Okay. So as said, we have those agreements with CGIA and with ESA, and we try to use that in order to define call times, for example, not being too much in collision with their calls. And also we are looking at having an interesting information exchange on topics of interest. So when you write a proposal to CELTIC, as it is bottom-up, you can use whatever topic is in the strategic roadmap that you can download. So in fact, those companies in the core group are defining the big areas in CELTIC, the large roadmap items on a regular way in time. And you can use those topics. Here you have some of them that are listed here in the different sections here on the graph. And these are used to support end-to-end services or verticals, which are also listed here on the graph, which are those applications supported. And it's very important so that you show that what you are taking as item from the roadmap, you don't just develop the technology for the technology itself, but to apply it to a given field that is giving you requirements that are not addressed by today's technology, or that you can make better services for those fields of application using the latest developments in those technologies. If we look at the future needs of the end user, what are the high-level fields of applications that have been identified in 2021 but are also being updated with time? You have human-centered technology and services for augmented life experience. So digital divide elimination, smart regions, cities, buildings, homes, smart transportation, smart tourism, sustainability and efficiency of smart energy grids, public safety and crowd control, electronic health and care, users in control and trust of their offered services. That's very important. Digital support for education and remote education, more and more important. Digital media, gaming, sports, culture and entertainment, remote working and nomadic working for the digital nomads. For the full industrial digitization and support of vertical industries. So what are digital enterprises? Private networks for smart manufacturing, for example, smart logistics, geolocation, IoT networks, smart agriculture, future financial and fintech, ICT support to third-party AI-based applications, and connectivity grid telecom infrastructure as a force utility like energy grid. Futuristic use cases, holographic teleportation, world real-time synchronous digital twin. These are topics that are high-level fields of applications that we are considering. What are the main technical areas of research? Urban, suburban, down to rural, ubiquity, pervasiveness, info into the home for education and remote working, one identity for seamless experience, and the smart regions, cities, buildings, and homes. Dynamic capacity following people's seamless mobility in normality, in crisis, pandemics, major climate events, problems like we have seen unfortunately in Turkey, highly precise positioning, edge computing, Open RAN, vRAN, slicing are technologies of interest. Automation, reliability, transparency, cognitive operations, so extensive monitoring, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, ICT supporting large and intense AI, ML deployment for verticals, connectivity processing, data storage, and so on. Transparency and imperceptible latency. Protection and trust, cybersecurity, identity management, and holographic transportation and real-time synchronous digital twin. We are looking at holographic media teleport, multi-sense networks, time-engineered applications. I won't read all of that. These are basically the technologies that have to be mastered and developed, made better, and explored in services from beyond 5G, from 5G to 6G, wired and wireless industrial ICT, critical infrastructure as utility, the critical connectivity grid, space dimension enabled 5G, beyond 5G, 6G, and distributed and smarter networks. So all of those topics are part of a roadmap. Your projects can make use of one or more of those elements, and you have to develop some of the technology, apply it to a vertical, and incorporate requirements from those verticals into the next versions of those technologies. This is what we are looking for because we want to be near to the market. So we need a strong influence of the market on what we are funding or helping funding. So CELTIC and the countries are also looking at for 2024 additional topics. So the non-terrestrial networks and terrestrial networks convergence. So we are looking at those projects to be in the bottom-up calls, and some of them will be invited, if they are selected, labeled in the bottom-up call, to join the working groups of the future flagship project, 3D-Net. So they will be kind of incorporated in the terms of working groups participations in the future flagship. Digitalization of the economy thanks to ICT technologies. Clean growth on sustainability is important, and this is linked also to the SDGs from the United Nations, UN SDGs. Remote health and care, more and more important, and also during pandemics, but also in some countries. ICT for Industry 4.0 and logistics, very important developments are awaited there, and ICT technologies must be adapted very much to that. I've been participating in the past personally in projects with manufacturing, with free ports in the UK and so on, and there's a lot of misconception between Industry 4.0 and ICT technologies like 5G, and there's a real need of a better cooperation between the verticals and the telecom sector to understand each other and develop the right things. So critical communications for emergency and rescue services, like in crisis, of different types of crises. This is something that we have since a certain number of calls in our needs, and we are also looking at here, but not in the short term, but in the mid-term, to incorporate some of the projects on critical comms and resilient infrastructures, the second topic after this one, into a flagship program. But this is too early to go for, but it's more and more important to have those critical comms and critical resilient infrastructures and cybersecurity together. So we are looking at projects that can explore already those topics, and then from there join into a larger project. Open RAN is important for several countries in the network and for industry. Private networks, including industrial and leisure private networks. So industrial networks like a manufacturer or production site, a port, a seaport, an airport, and so on, but also leisure, like a stadium, is important. AI for ICT and networks, so including radio, massive MIMO, Open RAN, radio, intelligent controllers, so RICs, consumer IoT and industry IoT, the two, ICT technologies for metaverses. Let's say metaverses in the sense of industrial metaverses, but also leisure, but more towards industrial. And then 5G advanced and 6G topics, sensing, location, etc. So, as usual, proposal that address any of the topics of the CELTIC strategic roadmap in the bottom of the are welcomed, but we are also happy to get more projects on those topics here, because we know that there are national calls that are looking at those topics here. Okay, that was for the little bit more deep dive on the SRIA. Now we will have a look to the how you make a proposal to CELTIC. So we have seen the context, Eureka clusters program, CELTIC itself, what we are looking for in the call. And now the section of the presentation for this morning is about how you apply to CELTIC and how you best apply to CELTIC. Okay, so we have 5 steps. The step 1 is to use the Brokerage tool. I will come back to this one. There's a small presentation for each of those steps. Attend to the call events, what you are doing here, by the way, one of them. Contact your public authorities, which should not be, let's say, timely as a third place, but it's part of the process. Check your eligibility and then submit your proposal. But what is a good proposal? I will go to the first part. One of the tools that we are providing to you is a Brokerage tool. You can, through this tool, which you can access to the www.celtic-next.eu/brokerage-tool, you can help yourself in building your consortium with this tool, and we can help you. So what are the functionalities of this tool? It has submission forms for the project IDs and an expertise offering. There is an overview list with a search form. You have contact request forms, and you can process owner support functions like approval process and contact request tracking. So you can upload your project ID here. This is by the way, just a snapshot of what you find on the website. Share your expertise offering, search partners to collaborate with, and look for existing project ideas. So you can be very much active, like providing your project ID. You can provide your expertise as well if you want to be contacted to join a consortium. You can search actively partners to collaborate with, or you can look at project IDs that have been put in the tool and you can ask to join them. So you have, when you want to upload a project ID, you are requested to project a title. So please enter a short title of a project ID. Even 255 characters is a bit long. It should be like one sentence or really a title, something crispy. Objective of your project ID, yeah, you can put up to 2,000 characters describing your project ID. You can put some keywords, tags that you would like people to be able to use to find your project IDs. In the Brokerage tool, you can type the partners types that you want to search for, what you want to find as future collaborators in your project, your name, your email, and a contact picture, your phone number if you like. It's not mandatory, but it's good. The company name or the organization name, which type of organization, what country, a brief description of your organization, the web URL of your organization. If you want to put a presentation, you can click yes, because you would like to present your idea in a pitching session. So typically in the next event, in the Proposals Brokerage Day, there will be people pitching their project ideas or consortia. So you can be part of them if you click yes here, and you can upload a presentation file, a PPT, showing your ID. And this is not mandatory, but it's recommended, of course, because it gives more information already, more than the title and the short description. And you can ask to have your identity to be public or hidden. That's a GDPR requirement. So you can officially say if you want to be publicly listed or not on our website, on the brokerage tool. So submit your expertise. That's another way to be involved. So you put a short title about your expertise. You put a description of your capacity, your expertise, keywords, tags that you want to be used to find you in the brokerage tool, your name, your email, your contact email, same telephone, company name, company logo, type of organization, country, a brief description of your organization, the web URL towards your organization, and same identity management, that you are happy to be contacted through our website, and then you have to use a CAPTCHA to say that you are not a robot proposing your expertise. The CELTIC brokerage tool, when you fill in those fields, when there's an asterisk, then it is mandatory. The proposal keyword is using a taxonomy from field class, which is also easy update of the keyword list, such as renaming, deletion, or addition of keywords. The identity management field determines whether name, telephone, and company name are shown in the project ID overview list or search results. The type of organization and country are always shown. The email address is never shown. So after submission, the CELTIC office will check and publish your project ID in the tool. Then you have a possibility to search for a partner, so you can look for an expertise through the search engine here, so which is a typical one, search for a keyword, a word or a series of words, then type of organization. You might select one country if you are targeting to find someone in a specific country, or expertise keywords that are pre-recorded in our taxonomy. You can search for a project ID, same kind of search engine, nothing special, nothing difficult here. The more project IDs and partner profiles will be published in the tool, the more successful it will be for the CELTIC community to find and build consortia, of course. So you can join us, and there's a LinkedIn group that you can use as well.
Thank you everybody for joining, and I'm gonna keep going with the second step, which is why you should attend the CELTIC-NEXT event. So why joining? As you join the launch event, for example, the first events are a way to learn about the cluster, to present you, as Xavier did, the topic of interest during this call, even if we are a bottom-up call cluster, the call condition, and it's always for you the occasion to have a first contact with the team and to get your answer live. But during, for example, the proposal brokerage event that we'll be proposing next month, it's also for you the occasion submit your proposal ID, to get first feedback from the team, but also from the funding authorities to see if your project is going to be funded in the first time. It's not definitive, but it could be useful. You can, it's always also for you the occasion to meet new people, to discuss with potential partners and get explanation also about the tools and the portal live. A quick look at our last events, for example. So during the last call, the last spring call 1 year ago, we, for example, organized our proposal brokerage day in Paris. You were quite a lot to join, and we have a lot of proposers who had the occasion to propose live their proposal. The conference was organized in a full day, and it was separating in 3 big parts. We have in the morning the conference part, and in the afternoon we organized the pitching session and time for brokerage and networking. So in the morning we have keynote and public authorities that came. We have a presentation from director of BP France, Eureka, and we have a keynote from Jean-Luc Bellard, who is the VP of Ecosystem in Nokia, for example, on new area of humanness between human, physical, and digital worlds. We also get, as for the launch event, an introduction to the CELTIC-NEXT cluster, tips on how to submit a good proposal, and way more. And of course, during this morning, we have in person the public authority that came and presented. We have France, UK, Finland, Germany, Sweden, and furthermore represented in person and online. And at the end, we had the panel discussion moderated by Xavier, our director, between Nokia and the director of XCCS, which is another Eureka cluster. In the afternoon, as said, we have 14 new project ideas that were presented. So people presented majority in live, and it was the occasion for them to present, to have feedback in direct discussion. And they also had the occasion to bring their poster. They send us a poster in advance, and we print them for them so they can show them. And every time when we have a break or lunch, they could present and discuss more in detail their proposal. And at the end, we have, with a nice buffet, a little time for proposer to discuss with each other, discuss with the public authority face-to-face, and it was time for networking. This was the event that we organized for the previous spring call. And in the coming events, CELTIC is going to celebrate its 21 years this summer. And for this call, we have decided to do a proposal brokerage day. However, this one will not be in person because we want to keep the funding and people moving for a big event for the 21st year, but you will still have the occasion during this online proposal brokerage day to pitch. So if you want to present your new proposal ID, you can send us your pitch template by the 1st of March at the address event@celtic-next.eu. If the sooner you send it, the better it will be. So we can organize little face-to-face online meeting, video meeting, so we can give you feedback on your proposal. Or Kristen here. And it will be so the occasion either that you're presenting or not for you to, if you want to join a project, first you can hear about it and then join next to the pitching, the consortium building session that will be organized in the following days. It will be 1 hour session where we focus on each proposal. But if people also, you have an idea to present it, like this is your opportunity to have a first feedback from your partners and also the public authority. So this proposal brokerage day is happening in 1 month exactly now. So registration are just open, so you can go on your website and you can register now. Talking about the next events, CELTIC will participate at the UNCNC coming in June, but also, and more majorly, in the Berlin 6G conference, where we are hoping that we can organize an event similar to the proposed event, similar to the launch event in person, we will have where you will have the opportunity to again meet us and the public authority face to face to celebrate the first year of CELTIC. That's all from my side. Xavier, if you want to add something.
Thank you, Audrey. Yes, we are looking at organizing the 21st anniversary from CELTIC, which is an important, let's say, day usually in the life of someone, but as an organization, we are happy that we have been successful already 21 years long. We try to organize that in Berlin in parallel or included in the CELTIC conference Berlin, but we are in the planning phase. But we try to have or maximize the attendance in that way, that we are focusing on this on-site, in-person event, and therefore the spring call Brokerage Day will happen online, as Audrey said correctly. Okay, so thanks a lot, Audrey. I will now share my screen for the next step, which is contacting public authorities. So okay, so step 3, which is, okay, we had to organize according to steps, but the step 3 should be even your step 1, which is contact your public authorities. So that's very, very, very important. This is fundamental to the success of an application, because you need really to contact the national funding authorities to get the national funding rules. Okay, because they change. We have knowledge of some of the rules, some of the programs, some of the calls in the office, but we are not, let's say, the official instance providing you those informations. This is the role of the national public contact, of the national public authorities, who is listed on our website. And if not, you can contact us. We will provide you information. If not up to date, but normally it should be up to date there. You need to consult them, because you need to get the, as the question was raised already, when is the national call that the project, once it gets the label, will be able to apply. And when it's not synchronized, sometimes there's a possibility for the national proposal to go first to apply in the national call. It's depending on what the national authority will tell you, but you can already pre-apply in the national call, waiting for the label from CELTIC to come. So this is one, not the best way, but that's one possibility, and this is sometimes done by projects and consortia and the national authorities, which are nice enough to allow this to happen. Our joint interest is that projects get funded and run and deliver. So you have to take that as a base for your discussions with the public authorities. They are there to support. They are not there to block. They are there to support you. They do all what they can to help you to get your proposal in the right call at national level, with the best support they can provide you, with the information you need to put into your proposal at national and at CELTIC level. So they are the best contact you can have for the national part of your application. So they can also help you in finding other entities at national level, or tell you if they had themselves good connections to other national agencies in other countries that would be happy to work on the topic you are proposing. They are very knowledgeable, so you can ask them. That's why you should contact your public authorities before submitting your application, and earliest as you can, because as said, you get the national CELTIC process, like early project outline, you get the latest national course conditions and process, you get advices on what they expect from you, topics, consortium, what you can, for example, what you can get funded and not funded. Some countries, they don't fund, for example, the dissemination activities, so you have to think about how you organize that. get eventually support to find additional partners to join your consortium, as I was saying, get eventually indication of which other countries are interested, as said, and help the public authorities to be prepared earlier to the evaluation of your proposal, provision of expert reviewers from the national evaluations. That's very important. As I said earlier in the day, some public authorities will have a deep dive into your proposal to CELTIC to be already in a position during the labeling meeting to give a full statement about your proposal, and if it has good chances or not to be funded in their country. Some other public authorities, they just wait for the label from CELTIC to start evaluating in detail your proposal. So the earliest you contact your public authorities for the first group of public authorities, the better it is for them to evaluate your proposal before they come to the consensus meeting, the labeling meeting with us, so that we can make a full decision rapidly. If it's not the case, you might have your label, but with modifications, because it is also necessary to wait for the evaluation from the other public authorities. So go as early as possible to your public authorities, get their feedback, include this feedback into your CELTIC application and into your national application. That's fundamental to a successful proposal. Now, public authorities are much more than your funding sources. And I insist on that because working with them, I can tell you they are passionate people about what they do. They want success. They want you to success. They want their country to success. And they want that the public funding turns into tangible results, tangible outcomes that they can sell internally to the government instances to get the next funding waves in national calls. That's all what they are looking at. They really want you to deliver. So it's also their interest that you succeed. It is at application level and moreover during the project execution. They will always support you. Like the CELTIC office and its core group, they are passionate about innovation, value creation. And therefore, when you apply, they need to be made enthusiastic about your value proposition, technology, and market impact. They understand the role of public money in fostering innovation. They fully understand that, and they promote it, and they support that. And I can tell you that's fundamental in success in Europe, for example. So therefore, you should take advantage of this as early as possible and contact them right at the beginning of your writing the proposal. So where you can find the information to contact the public authorities, we provide an interactive map with contact details visible when you fly over countries of interest. If you click on the country or on the tab beneath the graphic, you are moved to the details for that countries. In any case, we can support you also by email or phone. Don't hesitate to contact us. So this is the map. Not all countries support CELTIC. So there are countries, they have no support to clusters, or they have no support to CELTIC, especially because they support over clusters and so on. But it is always indicated that you check with a public authority. As said in the proposals brokerage day, for sure, those countries who will present will be supporting because that's their interest to present because they support. But there are a list of countries that will not present but still support. In the meantime, I will make, as usual, a round of questioning the public authorities that they support the call and in which way. And then I will check the proposals and indicate to you also the information. But please contact the public authorities. And sometimes, even if it's not a fully, let's say, public support, some countries are still looking at accommodating cluster projects and CELTIC projects in a one-by-one case base. Okay, so that was all about the public authorities step, contacting the public authorities. And again, they are professionals passionate about what they do, and contact them. They will be always of good support to you. So then eligibility criteria now. We'll answer all questions about the 5 steps after the full presentation. So what are the eligibility criteria for a consortium? So the consortium should include at least 2 companies from different Eureka participating countries. So at least 2 countries, but that's a very, let's say, challenging case if you have only 2 countries, because if one is not supporting anymore after the labeling, for example, you lose your label. So it's better to have 3 of them. The participation of research institute universities is very welcome according to each country's funding regulations. In some countries, public research institutes or universities are funded directly, or in some countries, they might be funded via subcontracting through the industry. So that's again an information that you get when you contact the country's representatives that are indicated on our website. The consortium should include at least 1 industrial partner from each of the countries represented in a project. Industrial partners refers to companies of all sizes, from SME startups to large companies. We are really trying to avoid that the participation of the country is restricted to an RTO or to an academia. We can have some coolants here, but this is really not the target, to have countries with only RTO or academia. It's an industry cluster. It's not a research cluster. So the project partners must express their willingness to cooperate in a win-win fair basis in the development of a new project, industrial process, industry standard, or service. So there should be a good balance. That means we should not see one partner doing everything and having just a little participation for a very small impact of the second partner or something like that. It has to be fair, distributed across the consortium. And therefore, there's a criteria about the maximum participation of a partner should not exceed 70% of the effort or budget. So the product, process, or service must be innovative, and there must be a technological risk involved. That means we are not financing the version 1.2 or the version 1.1 or something that is just an incremental step. We are looking here at innovation. There's a state of the art to be provided in good enough quality and detail, so that our experts can see if what you are proposing is really an innovative step or not. The project should benefit all involved partners in a well-balanced consortium. So I was already evoking this clause. It needs really to show that everyone has to win something in this project, and the consortium has to be, let's say, balanced also in the benefits. So the project should generate an obvious advantage and added value resulting from the technological cooperation, between the participants, new technologies, standardization, prototyping, field trials, new or improved products, increased knowledge, access to research and development infrastructure, etc. So it's a technological cooperation. And it should be a technological cooperation, not one company that is using this project to sell a product, nearly finished product, to a customer. So we won't accept this kind of situation. So it has to be a cooperation at technological level between the participants. Economic and societal benefits to be obtained where relevant must be highlighted in the project proposal. So you have to show how your project is providing benefits at economic and societal level. So not only technology, but economic and societal. So not only technology and market, but economic, which is linked, of course, but economy and society should benefit from the results of a project. So a project consortium or cooperation agreement must be signed between the project owners as soon as possible when the project starts. So we are providing those project consortium / cooperation agreements, PCAs, templates. They should, it's a consortium agreement, it is your stuff. It refers to some reference documents from CELTIC, but it is your decision what you put inside this PCA. But it has to be linked with the CLDs and the CFA from CELTIC, but the corresponding paragraphs are provided in the template. So some basic rules. Any organization whose collaborative industrial ICT RD&I project is consistent with the above criteria can apply. Funding could be provided by each national funding agency after receipt of quality label in accordance with the national participation procedures and subject to budgetary availability. Before submitting your project proposal, please check the following things. Have you completed all required chapters in the project proposal templates, the so-called CPP, which is downloadable from our website, and you will find in the links from this presentation also. I mean, with that, unfortunately, for example, in the last call, we had, in fact, 17 proposals, and 9 were validated because they were fulfilling those criteria. But also 8 of them got rejected immediately because they were not fulfilling at least one of those criteria. Just a presentation or just a free paper with project IDs or a recycled project proposal from another scheme is not acceptable. You have to fill in the CPP. If you don't fill in the CPP, we don't have common references to compare projects, and therefore you are out of competition. Have you contracted or involved public authorities and followed their advice regarding national funding applications? There's a section in the CPP asking you exactly those questions, and you have to fill in if you have contacted the public authorities and so on in that section. Confirmation letters, the so-called CLDs, have to be signed by all partners. Normally minimum 4 weeks after the call deadline. So it has to be present before we go for the consensus meeting, the labeling meeting. In the CLD, you agree about the rules from CELTIC. You agree that you will, if you are attributed the label and you get active in the project, you will pay the fees to CELTIC as agreed, and it is clear from the beginning. If you don't sign, you are out of the project. Correlated documents and forms can be found in the link that is associated here, and you will be able to click. Proposals made have the possibility to be defined bottom-up without the need to follow defined program objectives. However, they must cover ICT-related research areas, and not only the ones that we are indicated. As long as it is ICT-related, it is fine. Okay, so this is about the eligibility criteria, and now there's a last but very important part. What is a good proposal and how you position your proposal in the tool. So let's start. What shall a successful proposal target? So some basics. You should target the scope of CELTIC-NEXT strategy roadmap. But as said, you can be outside as long as this outside topic is a recognized ICT topic in the community. Technological innovation, it has to be new, innovative, forward-bringing project for the community. Market relevance and exploitation potential, it must return value for money to the consortium and to the funding countries. So it should be a win-win between your private consortium and the funding countries. So the money should not be just wasted in something that will have no application or commercialization. Follow the rules with the right mix and balance of participating countries and partners. So create a good consortium, balance different countries and company profiles. And this is what is in italic is a feedback from public authorities and from participants. It's not a national project with some links abroad, but a true international balanced cooperation, ideally with no more than 60 and never over 75% of effort and or budget in one country only. So how you target the scope of the CELTIC strategic roadmap? So you can help us, and you have to, fill in when you are filling in your application. So just executing the application here. We have a so-called taxonomy. So this means that you will see topics A, B, C, D. So networking, service and applications. So services and applications, future service enablers, future internet clouds, future usage areas, and multidisciplinary approach. When you put in the tool, and I will show that later on, you have to select major topics and minor topics for your application, and you have to select a one, for example, because your application is about network elements and infrastructures. So you will find in the taxonomy related topics to your application, and you will indicate them, which has two advantages for you to do it. One is that you are showing by that your proposal is in the scope. And if it's not in the scope, please write it in the description. Okay. Normally, you should find at least one or two topics from that taxonomy that are to your scope, but you might have a very strong scope on something that is not listed here. So please indicate it in your application, in addition to the selection. And the second advantage is when we assign experts to review your proposal, those experts have indicated in our tool internally, in the private section of the tool, that they have competence in that topic of the taxonomy to that level of competence. So when you apply and the call is closed, when I go to the tool, I can ask the tool to provide me a first list of experts, of 3 experts per proposal that are the best experts to review the proposal because their expertise matches the taxonomy items you have selected for your proposal. So that's the reason why it's very important to fill in that. So the research areas, you have the document to download. Now the technology, if I go to those basics and I go in more depth in each of them, the technological innovation is above the state of the art, which is a key criterion. So you have to describe a rationale for the project. Why is the subject of a proposed project important? Which problems will be solved? Which results will be generated but are currently not available? The state-of-the-art situation, describe the current technological situation, the current problems and gaps, and indicate the technological improvements that you want to achieve with your project. Technological innovation and strategic relevance. What is the strategic relevance and expected impact of your proposal on a per-country perspective? You have to describe as a whole, but also per country involved in the project. What new businesses will be generated? So 50% of criticism from the cluster experts during proposal evaluation are related to insufficient description of the state of the art. So be active, proactive, describe well the state of the art, because a proposal that comes with very restricted state of the art, and we can't, let's say what your proposal is doing above the state of the art, the innovation step will not be considered as sufficient and you won't get the level, or you will get with a level with modifications. I have to work 2 months more to provide what was missing. So the market relevance and exploitation potential. So the market analysis, technological value chain and added value of a collaboration. The value chain has to have the right mix of partners representing all the segments of the technology value chains and market. Added value for the corporation at technology level, added value of the corporation at business level, and consortium partner access to market, which is very important as well. These are key aspects to motivate public authorities to fund your project, because if you develop something, but there's no one in the consortium that has an access to the market, the question will raise if your project is about to deliver something that will be sold, because we don't see who from the consortium will be in a position to sell it. So therefore, the end user, or the end in B2B sense, partner should be in the consortium, for example. If it's a service for a mobile network operator, it's better to have a mobile network operator. If it's a service for an airline should be in the project and so on. And we have very good projects demonstrating that. Now the key points, your CELTIC-NEXT project should be successful and beneficial, and must be managed and controlled properly in order to achieve this. So you have to give confidence to the experts and the public funders that you will be in control. So a good plan, good work packages descriptions, good Gantt diagram, and so on are fundamental to show that not only you have the right people around the table, but you have the right roles assigned, and tasks and work packages assigned, and timelines are, let's say, trustable. It should be used as a tool to develop your business if the project scope is aligned with your strategies and future plans. However, it may take some time to reach commercial success. So you have to provide a clear outlook on your commercialization plan per product/partner and as a whole consortium or service that you are developing. So it's important that we see that effectively after projects end plus 3 years, there's a good potential for commercialization that has been understood from the beginning of a project and that you have worked towards during the project. The key points, 2 additional key points or more, the best practices that help to carry out the project activities properly are based on commitment of the consortium from the beginning to the end of the project. So build a strong and committed consortium and show clearly its commitment in the proposal. So everyone should have a good one, well described, showing the interactions and so on, so that we see that everyone has already thought about how you will cooperate with the rest of the consortium. The success of the project relies on 3 actions: deliverables, dissemination, and exploitation of the project activities. Write a good proposal, not only research, but also business impact, exploitation impact, and dissemination, coordination, and work package structure. Be aware that there may be changes in the project, consortium activities, funding, etc., that might affect the initial plans, not plans, but plans, sorry, project description. So provide a well-described risk analysis section and what you would put in place as remediation for those risks. So you can find the templates for guides, contracts, forms in the URL that is listed here. There is proposal guidelines. So I think we will provide an updated in the stored presentation, an updated link. But anyway, the website is up to date, and you just need to download those CELTIC-NEXT proposals guide. You can have you have to download the CLD confirmation letter and this declaration of acceptance, the PCA. You can have a look already, but this is needed after the labeling and project start, and then the self-funding declaration later. So this is another document. Anyone can participate to a project on a self-funded way. That means that if your project needs a partner that cannot be funded, and this partner is okay to participate because this project is strategic for him, we accept, of course, people who are self-funded, and this happens time to time. We have even a big project where a large automotive company in Germany has decided to come self-funded because they were not getting any good funding possibility, or they were already at top of funding in the country. So they came because it was strategic for them. So this is not a stop for a project. So I don't know, there was this animation, but those dates you have seen already. So what is next? And once you have created your very good proposal, you have to provide it to us before, so by the 3rd of May, midnight. You have to register to the cluster project tools. All of this is here on this platform. You have to fill in the web forms about the project. You have to download the project proposal template and fill it in, the CPP, and you have to upload it together with your web forms field in the tool, and then push for apply. So this is mandatory, and again, make a good CPP document with all the information needed. Otherwise, I will have to declare your proposal not valid for going to the labeling meeting. So the submission interface, how it looks like, you have to register to the tool. Then you will see the current call open, and you can click on submit new proposal. You have to identify your project. There's an acronym to be put. Please don't put an acronym of 10 words. An acronym is an acronym. It can be cryptic or self-explanatory, but okay. The project title should be also relatively crispy, not a full paragraph. It's a title, it's not a description. And then you have to put key information like the proposed start date, when you think that your project should start, or could start, should or could, and planned completion date, same for the end. Sorry, I was using my mouse too fast. Then you upload your CPP either in PDF or in docx format, and then you can click on submit. And you have some fields to fill in. So that's for the submission. Now, how it will be evaluated. So starting from 3rd of May, midnight, the tool will not allow anymore to make a proposal, but our experts will have an access to your proposals. The experts that I will nominate based on the proposal from the tool and their availability. And in addition to that, I will also check, as usual, that there's no conflict of interest. So the tool by default will never propose an expert which is belonging to the company that is proposing something. I will check also that the experts that the tool is proposing are not from competitors from the companies in the proposal. And if there's no good over alternative, I will contact the consortium and ask if this expert is okay for them. So you will have the possibility to refuse an expert if this expert has been considered as a potential in a potential conflict of interest concerning your proposal. So we are going to that step now. So the evaluation criteria that the CELTIC experts are using are of 5 categories. First one is excellence and technological innovation. So having that in mind, you know what you need to do in your proposal. The strategic relevance and impact. This is more or less what I have explained already, but this is good to see that it is effectively used in the evaluation. Potentials for exploitation of the results and for future business. Quality and efficiency of the implementation of the project proposal. Quality of the proposed consortium. You will get, there are sub-evaluation criteria that the experts are seeing and they have to fulfill, and there's a rating built on this, and there are recommendations from expert 1, expert 2, expert 3, and then there's a summary recommendation made by the lead expert that is taking into account what the 3/1s have said, or the 2/1s on himself as an individual reviewer, and therefore they will come into a conclusion about, on the expert side from Celtic, if it's suitable for liable, or if modifications are required, or if it's not suitable for liable at all for the time being. So most experts are from the industry, but they can come also from LTOs and academia. And we always put at least one or two from the industry to be sure that it's industry driven. The label decision is based on important criteria like technical quality, business relevance, and also national priorities where and when they exist. So in the consensus meeting, we sit together with the public authorities of the countries in each proposal. I represent the experts. I bring their opinion to the table. The core group members who have reviewed your proposal, in case they have done it, they bring their opinion. The public authorities, all of them that are involved in your proposal geography, bring their opinion, and we reach together a consensus decision about your proposal, either labeled with modifications, or rejected. So, or not labeled, to be less harsh. Once you get the label, the full label, you can start the project. And what is meant by this is, in Eureka projects, the funding is granted by ministries or funding agencies of the participating countries. Projects can usually start when mandatory partners are or have green light for funding. You don't need to have 100% of the countries funding your project to start the project, waiting for those remaining ones to come. So we always look at, if you have, let's say, critical mass of partners, funding, and work package and tasks that can start at a point of time. When this is reached, you can start the project, and then the other countries and partners of those countries can join as long as they get the funding positive decision from the remaining countries. And if not, we can work with a project change request to reconfigure the project and replace the countries that have not funded, or turn non-funded partners into self-funded partners if they are okay with that. And if not, you can bring new country, new partners, or final solution, refocus the project on what has been already agreed. So this is all the flexibility of the project change request in the process. It's a bit balancing the inconvenience of having a delayed start depending on the country's funding national schemes, and this is helping a lot. In the last years, the success rate for running projects was more than 50%, so between 50 and 60. When a partner becomes active in a running, and I mean from proposal to running, not from label to running. When a partner becomes active in a running project, he will pay the CELTIC contribution of 1.5% of his budget, which is containing both the private and the public value. And why we ask from private and public base is because academia, SMEs, startups, they usually get more public funding. And if we would base our fees just on the public funding, this is the smallest guys who would have to pay the most of the fees contribution in the consortium, which is not logical when you have big industry players or big RTOs in the project. So we are asking from the public and private effort pay the fees, but it's only 1.5%. Okay, so the label decision, I was explaining that in advance to this slide, but timeline 6 weeks. So the decision for this call will be not the last week of June, but the week before, and therefore the notification will be before July. The latest will be issued before July. So I think I am done here.
Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot, Xavier. We have received 2 more questions. We can try to answer those one.
Yeah.
The first one come from Nisha. She say our application received a label with modification in 2022, and we did not go for web submission. We are interested to submit a modified application in this upcoming call, but with changing in terms of use cases, partners, and country involved. Should this be submitted as a new application or resubmission?
Okay, so since it was 2022, the 10 months, or even with an extension, is now over, so the label is not really anymore valid. So it's a new submission, a new application, not a resubmission. It's a new application.
Then we have the second question. Say, can any individual become CELTIC expert?
Yes, but it is based on very strict criteria. So when an expert is applying to become a CELTIC expert, or better, I will start from the beginning. CELTIC experts usually come from the core group members from CELTIC, from the group of 2021 companies and RTOs, because that's their contribution to the CELTIC cluster. So they don't pay the office, they don't pay a fee to the office. That's why we are recovering the fees only from the projects and on both public and private parts. The contribution from the core group is based on the disposal of experts from their side. But with the time, people move from company to company, or they retire and so on. And some of them are now individuals that are in companies that are not in the core group of CELTIC. They are still experts because we agreed with them that they are still fine to be experts. And an individual can be an expert in CELTIC as long as he provides a CV. But we check his career, and if he has something comparable with an expert provided by our core group in terms of qualifications, of expertise, and so on. And if this person accepts not to be paid, because those experts coming from the core group and the others are not paid, they are just delegated by the core group. So they are not paid, and we don't want to have experts that are trying to assess projects because they are paid for this. So we are clear with the experts that it's a for let's say it's a for free work that they are doing for CELTIC. The only payment is the reimbursement of the travel cost when they also serve as experts reviewing projects during their running time as a midterm reviewer and as a final term reviewer. We are not paying any expert, but an individual can become if he has the right pedigree and he is agreeing on the fact he will not be paid except for the travels.
All right, I think that's all the question. I don't see also any chat.
We're a bit in advance. Did I miss something from the agenda?
No, no.
Okay, so I was too fast.
At the
Maybe.
beginning, but I say, okay, thank you. Good. We have a new question. I say, how old are the project ID in the brokerage tool?
So they are relevant to the proposers as long as they leave it in the tool and they are not contacting us to remove them. We don't decide for them. So the Brokerage tool is a good tool. Okay. Yes, that's a right from label to project start. And why? It's because when we label a proposal to become a project, it's a quality label. So that means that from the consensus, we decided that this project has good chances. What can happen is that if there are 4 or 5 countries involved, for example, 3 of them representing the, let's say, the critical mass of a project in terms of content, of effort, is reached by those 3 countries. The 2 other ones that have a minor contribution to the project, and might be of the opinion, okay, not really, and so on. But as a consensus, we say, okay, we let this project being labeled fully, or we let it being labeled with modifications, as long as those modifications that are asked by the 2 additional countries, for example, for smaller part of the project, are not endangering the project, the consortium has to try to fulfill those additional requirements and to satisfy those other countries. And in that terms, it means that the project has even more chances to be funded. But it happens sometimes that there's a change in politics, or there's a change on priorities and so on in some countries. And therefore, there is a problem for a major country in the project to finance the project, but it was not identified earlier. And therefore, yes, there are projects that don't start despite they have got the label. And that's why we have this rate. But once we say this is labeled, normally it has very good chances to get financed. And if I understand, yes, that's the point. So we give a quality label, and it is an early discussion about the international dimension of the project that is reached at that level in the consensus labeling meeting. And then each country is still sovereign to say if the project will be funded at the national level or not. So the funding is not coming from CELTIC, it's coming from the national authorities. And this is why I say we provide a quality level. We give, with our experts, an indication to the countries. And then you have 3 types of, or let's say at least 2 types of countries. One type is they just follow our indications, and then they put the project in the priority list of funding in their country. And it's just a question of priority that is checked. Or they wait to get the label, and then they start their national funding evaluation with deep dive into the project, and then the project gets or not the national funding. So that's why it is national level funding. CELTIC is just there to coordinate the calls, to coordinate the public authorities together, and make this international quality label. Funding is national based. Yeah, but that's the point. So that's the rate that I've indicated. Between 50 and 60% get to running state, and some of them, unfortunately, not. So sorry, no, I must be clear. So between proposals and running, we have 50% around. From labeled to funded and running, it's not a direct statistics, because you can have a consortium that has been labeled, that is running, but that is running in a, let's say, modified version from the labeled version, because, for example, one country did not finance. So we don't have that statistic. They're not accepted at all because the main country or the main countries did not fund the project despite they were labeling it. It's marginal. So it's possibly 10, 20%. Like that. And we have also positive things, because when you have to reduce your consortium, it can be considered as negative, but we have also the opposite examples. Some projects were starting with a certain set of countries and partners. And during the first year, for example, they were already promoting what they were doing in the project and also using our channels, but their own channels, their companies and so on. And they raise the interest of additional partners, additional countries. And we have an example, a project called COA-CFD. They were starting with a project at 10 million, and they have added shortly here 6 million euro value in the project with additional partners and countries and even field of application. So they have created a new work package to run their core technologies defined in the basic work package into a new application field, new use case in the work package, and added a consortium part there and the finance of additional countries. And this is rare. So I would say it's 5% of the projects or something like that, but it happens and it is welcomed because it shows that not only it was a good decision to finance this project, but also it is already creating kind of traction in the community, aggregating new participants and even new countries. Any other question?
So far, it seems not.
Okay.
Then we may finish in advance.
Yes. Okay, so if no one wants to take the floor, we can possibly close this call and the event. All the data will be available on our website. Don't hesitate to contact us using the office@celtic-next.eu email address. You are welcome to provide as soon as possible your ideas for project, not only in the Brokerage tool, but also per email to event@celtic-next.eu, so that we can work out if you want to have a pitch session in the call for the Proposers Brokerage Day on the 13th of March. So you are welcome. And yeah, so thanks for your attendance. And I think we can then close the call now. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Xavier. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Great presentations.